Conversations about the end of life.
Hello and welcome back, our delightful listeners. This is a recast,
A revisit,
a
yeah.
revisit to season 4 that we've just finished and are so delighted to sit here and kind of do a little remembering about who was with us for this season.
Yeah.
And I am so in awe of how mystery works and how last season we really had a lot of doulas who
Yeah.
were showing up and being on our podcast. And now we are very delighted to see that we have a lot of caregivers.
Right, yeah, and some authors and other things, but yeah, it was kind of a nice change in a way, and yeah, the companionship side of it just really seemed to come out. Almost everybody we talked to, even those that we're talking about who were writing books or writing poetry or reading poetry, which was one of our most favorite, were really talking about how they went through the end of life with their companion, so or with
That's
their
right.
wife and friend in that case. So yeah, it's been so sweet and so moving in every way, as always, but just yeah.
As always. And, you and I have we're almost going to celebrate our 2-year mark of having started this project.
We're getting closer, yeah.
Yeah. And what I really, our listeners might think we know just about everything to do with, advanced care directed planning and end of life, but I am just so enthralled that I still learn things
Every time, yeah.
every time. And,
Yeah.
I want to start out with a new term that
Mm.
Sarah
Yeah.
had mentioned, the fiduciary term,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was something that I had heard about, but I hadn't heard it in this context before, which I thought was really cool, which
Mhm.
is Sarah Eckline, and you can look her up and, definitely recommend any of these we're talking about. Definitely think about checking them out. Go back to the website and go back and look at some of these. They're really good. But Sarah, yeah,
Mhm.
she actually has an organization that provides fiduciary, support to people basically as their, uh, in an advanced care directive, you want to have somebody who's your healthcare agent, and that's what they do for them. You can hire their company, and they will help you with all that kind of stuff. And it was
Mhm.
just really sweet to talk to her. She's such a kind and thoughtful person, and
Mhm.
yeah, I really
And
appreciated her.
she's only working in California, and so if you're in a
Yeah,
different state, it would be necessary to go and find somebody local so that they know the rules and laws from your state, but
yeah,
it is needed, and sometimes some of us, we're gonna need a fiduciary on our team.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is basically your representative. Basically, that's what
Mhm.
that amounts to. And she was episode 71, by the way, in case you want to go look her up. She was great. Yeah, and we had others like that as well. We had
Monica?
Jamie and
And
Monica.
yep. Well, and I can talk about Monica too
Yeah,
because
do
what I
yeah,
remember, she's from Canada but lives in Mexico and has written an advanced caring planning book.
right,
And, she talks about she's just as verbose about this process as we are.
hmm
Like, it's so important to have families talk about what they want at the end of life, and
yeah,
she actually has a plan book for us. And was she one of the folks who give a lot of her service, like, her little information away?
yeah. I believe so. And then we also talked to Monica who did that. I believe Monica actually had some, or maybe it was her. I can't remember which one
Well,
of
there
them
was
did it.
Liz. Liz
Yeah,
was
yeah.
another planning for the end of life.
Right, and Liz had a website where you could actually download some information. And
Mhm,
Monica Kumar, episode 78, had written a book called Beyond Loss: The Power of
mhm,
Purposeful Grief, and has a complete family legacy planning framework program that she
mhm,
works with. So
mhm.
all of these people were really just, again, it's so moving to hear about people who are dedicating their lives really to helping
Mhm,
people go through this time
mhm.
and get their plans in place. And
Yeah,
one of our premium episodes soon will be up about how to create your own advanced care directive. And
that's
so
right.
look for that. Yeah.
That's right,
Yeah.
and if you don't have time, if you really are thinking about this right now, there's 3 different people from this past
Yeah.
season, who you could listen to and see what you can glean from their experiences and,
Yeah.
their free offerings about advanced care directed planning.
Yeah, each of them had websites with tons of great
Mhm.
information on it. So, yeah,
That's
so
right.
thankfully you've got a good resource right there. You don't even have to wait for our premium episode, but
That's
please
right.
do. Or pay for our premium episode. But yeah, this is such a great great resources, and we're so blessed
Yes.
again to have met all these awesome people. So, uh,
Yep. So we're talking to some folks who are helping us plan the end of life, and then we also have people who are in a space where they can actually they are talking to or be to let's see, how should I say it? They're feeling better about continuing communicating with
yeah,
those on the other side of the veil, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
for
We met
this,
s
we
we met several of those, and yeah, and I really love yeah, like you said, there was what, Mark, Ireland? Yeah, he was great, and then Jay who was texting people. So,
that's
um,
right.
that was pretty cool. And really I loved what and Mark was really interesting, I thought, because, his father was a well-known,
Psychic.
spiritualist or psychic, yeah,
Yeah.
but he didn't really believe in that stuff, right? Uh, but then, I guess was it his
His
son?
son. Yep. It
Yeah,
was son that he heard it. And then he
yeah,
just, like, ended up, like, following these breadcrumbs of information that brought
right.
him to this, like, awareness that it is real.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it was actually that another psychic that he knew because of his father's
Mhm,
connections,
mhm.
uh, contacted him and said, "Hey, your son has a message for you,"
Yeah, yeah,
So he's now
yeah.
doing all this cool research, with universities about this,
Mhm,
communication across the
mhm,
veil or
mm.
communication over time and space, which, yeah, any of us who've experienced that can witness that it happens, as weird as it might seem.
It
Yeah, it
does.
does. It actually does happen, and it's actually such an incredible gift and blessing. So,
Mhm, mhm. So then we head into elderhood and aging and the folks who are helping us learn more about this process at the end of life.
yeah,
Corinne and her book,
Doreen. Yeah, she was great.
Teenagers.
How cool was that?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
She founded a place called, Choice Care Navigator. She's in episode 73, by the way. Um, yeah, that just the idea that, as teenagers, which I love that term,
Mhm,
we deserve to have resources and be, and dignity and and care and just all the ways that we
mhm,
can really participate in the end of our lives
mhm,
instead of just being
mhm.
shuffled off into a facility or something,
Right,
which
which,
yeah.
like, then, like, launches us into, Chef Dave,
Yeah,
who
what a cool guy.
doesn't want us using well, he doesn't use the word facility for us teenagers. He is in community with people and wanting more folks to understand, like, this is a time that we could serve with grace and dignity and give people agency around what it is at the end of life, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
he was so wonderful. I wish we knew more people were doing the kind of work he does
yeah. Yeah,
at
Chef
his
Dave, he's a
mhm.
friend that I've known for a while, and I just have always been deeply moved by his stories about how caring he is for the people in his community, his elder care community, and he goes and sits down with them at the meals and asks them what they like and don't like, and he had some fun stories about people telling him, "This is too salty," or whatever, and just but he cares so much, and he sat with people as they died too, and he spoke about that, so he was just an exceptionally, I think, probably pretty unique chef,
Mhm,
and these
mhm,
people are eating gourmet food, they're not eating truck
mhm,
food, so,
mhm.
uh, it was so really moving and wonderful to speak to the chef, um, so that's I wanna find which one that was so I can make sure you all go look at it. It was,
Yes.
76, yeah, back in August, the end of August,
Mhm.
so, cool, yeah,
And
those are some great people.
and that launches us into Revenant Songs with
Oh,
Elizabeth
yeah.
out of Ireland.
Yeah. How cool was that?
And singing these, ancient songs to guide folks across the veil or to honor their
Mhm.
lives. Oh, I think we need more musicians, and
Yeah,
we will get some for the next season. We will have
we
some
have some
more
lined
talk and
up
music. Yep,
that
but
will hopefully show up.
yes.
Musicians are hard to get a hold of. It seems like. I don't know. But yeah.
So, yeah, Elizabeth had a lot to share around, songs.
Yeah, well, and about the history of the Revenant songs, which are basically
Mhm.
songs you sing to the dead. And
Mhm.
they're from, Northern European music, like Ireland and,
Mhm.
um, Scotland. I think that's where she was talking about. And
Mhm.
she also does French chansons. She does a lot of music. She said she'd been doing
Mhm.
music for as long as she could remember and
Mhm.
singing. So I think we actually posted some of her music on the podcast notes, so you
Mhm.
can listen to that. She's also a doctor. She's a medical doctor, and she
That's
does
right.
mediation. So just an
Mediation.
incredible person.
Mhm.
Um, and she was calling us from Ireland, so that was cool. A little tiny
Yeah.
town in the west coast of Ireland called Westport.
So
So
sweet.
yeah,
So we also talked about green burials with Mel, who wasn't
yeah,
she the one that had the GPS coordinates
yeah.
and
GIS they call it. Yeah, GIS.
yep.
Yeah, because she said she was in a meeting with a bunch of other funeral directors, and she was talking about her idea of putting people in the ground in a forest with just planting a tree over them, right?
Mhm.
And one of the old guys says, "Well, you can't do that. No, we don't know where to find their people, right?" And she said, first she was kind of like defensive, but then she said, no, actually, that's a good point. And so they created this app that you can
Mhm.
go to the forest where people are buried and you can pull it with the app and it has like a GPS. It'll direct you to where the tree is and you can go visit your people, which is, I thought, just the most fascinating and wonderful thing of all.
It's kinda cool. Do you know what it also makes me think about is, when my kids were younger, we do like geocaching and
Yeah.
we'd go all over the place looking for the little box and, write our name in there. But it'd be kinda cool to do like a geocaching, like,
Yeah.
trip to go
Version.
and visit with people, ancestors of someone, but to say, "Howdy do."
Yeah. That would be cool if you could just access a bunch of them, go
Yeah,
walk around and find them wherever they happen to be. Yeah,
that's
that was very
kinda
cool.
cool.
We had some really wonderful people really speaking to the companioning people at the end of life.
Mhm.
Sarah and Gus had companioned Gus's wife, Andy,
Andy.
through her
Mhm.
last 3 years of life while she was an incredible poet.
Mm,
So, we really loved that. We always love to do poetry, but this time we did poetry pretty much throughout the entire we read one poem after another by Andy, and
mhm.
so, both of them had spent time with her and, just this beautiful, beautiful conversation and poems by this woman who, in the last 3 years of her life, just wrote some incredibly
Incredible.
moving
Well,
stuff.
not only is she a gifted poet, but what I really appreciate about Andy's gift is to share with us what it is to be dying, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
share with us not the shame, not the hiding. Sometimes it's uncomfortable with the loved ones around her, but she just spells it all out. And,
right.
oftentimes I wonder if people who are, in transition with somebody who's dying from a disease or aging or a child, like there might be like this barrier because it's embarrassing to witness it. Like, I'm so sorry
Yeah,
you're dying and I don't know what
yeah,
to do and I love you and I miss you and I'm mad at you. And so all these different emotions just kind of must like sift through this time. And Andy nailed it.
yeah, yeah, it's just so totally right there, yeah.
Mhm.
No pull no punches, and that's what I loved about it. It was just really
That's
raw,
right.
very
That's
raw and
right.
beautiful, beautiful. I
Oh,
recommend that one highly. That was episode 77.
yes. If people are poets,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Poets especially, but everybody. I mean, poetry is one of the ways that we can speak to these things that are so hard to put into words. It's
Mhm.
that gift, the gift of poetry. So
Mhm.
Sarah Sawyer and Gus Reed were, that was
Mhm.
episode 77 at the beginning of September. So
Mhm.
highly recommend that one. That was beautiful.
It was.
Yeah,
And then we finish off, with a lot of companions, a lot
yeah,
of listeners and caregivers and supportive caregivers and supportive
hmm.
children. You know, the death world is filled with so many different kinds of people who are filling in these small spots,
Yeah,
to feed, to plan, and then to support as, people are going through it, right?
yeah, exactly. Beautiful, beautiful people. We talked to Rabbi Rami Shapiro, who is someone I've followed for many years, and just I love his work. And he's one of those people that I kind of think of as a rock star, you know. And so it was such a thrill for him to immediately write back to me when I wrote to him and say, "Of course, I'd love to be a guest, and he was just beautiful. He had written a book about communicating with children about the end of life, and I just loved the way he spoke to that. And so he came and talked to us about that as a way to companion people, and and I'm trying to find the name of that, which was where was that one? Anyway, but yeah, there were others too that spoke specifically about the different kinds of ways that they speak to people.
Mhm.
His thing. He has a One River Foundation, and contributes to Spirituality and Health magazine and writes Substack stuff every other week. His book or his article that led me to call him was called "Of Knots and Rope,"
Mhm.
speaking to children. And I love basically what he's saying is that life is like this rope going through, and it goes on beyond the beginning and beyond the end. And when you're born is like one knot that got tied, right? And
Mhm.
at the end, the knot gets untied, and you and you move
Mhm.
on. But it's a continuous. The
Mhm.
energy is continuous, and to speak to just what a beautiful way to think about it, right?
Mhm. So, I wanna just launch into Kyla, the
Yeah,
puppeteer,
that
because,
is so
talk
cool.
so I found her in an article I read in the Denverite about, someone who was taking roadkill and making puppets.
Right?
And, I have always wanted to be a taxidermist, and sometimes have been known to pull over and bury animals off the side of the road, and Kyla takes these animals and it gives them dignity at the end of life, I think,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And
very
makes them
much.
into puppets and then shares tales of death at libraries or wherever she's
Yeah,
called to, like,
yeah,
make it normal to be okay with talking about death.
yeah, exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, because she's talking to kids, even if she's just telling a story with the puppets, the kids are recognizing this was
mhm.
once a live being, and now it's
That's right.
reanimated in order to tell me the story.
That's
And
right.
I loved what she said that the parents are the ones who kind of shy away,
Yeah.
right? And the kids are, especially the girls,
The girls are like,
can't.
"Yes, let me touch."
Yeah, right.
That's right. I
And-
really do love that. Like, I can imagine it too. Like, she's at a library, she does her story time, and then she's like, "If you want to, you're welcome to come to the front and look at the puppets, right, or touch."
Yeah, yeah.
And she says all the time, like, girls up front have lots of questions, and then the parents in the back going like, "What?"
Right. And the little boy's kind of going, I'm not sure about this.
I don't know about this. Yeah. So, I
Yeah,
appreciate that it seems macabre, and it's also a delightful
right.
realm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, I don't know. So who else did we have who were doing caregiving?
Yeah, well, we met Tim, who was
Mhm,
was actually a spiritual director, which both of us are, and I think we found him through the
mhm.
Spiritual Director Network. So he was specifically doing, teaching or training people in spiritual direction around this deep, compassionate listening and end of life work, and it was like his mission, basically. Wonderful, sweet man as always. Who else did we meet there? Seth. I love Seth.
Seth?
Seth's
Yep.
somebody we've both known for a while. He was actually one of our cohort, and
Mhm.
when we were back in seminary, and he has his own podcast, which we were just on recently.
We
It was
were.
so fun. But he had a podcast where he talked about the way male people, emotional male facing grief and loss, how men specifically have a hard time with that. And so I really love talking to him about that and really kind of opening up that dialogue about, yeah, it is hard for men. I've noticed when I'm going to events or to, now, you start going to death doula events or you start going to any kind of online things, count the men and you'll find that there are
Yeah.
10, 15, 20% at the most that show up.
Mhm,
So it's really indicative that men have a harder time with
mhm,
that stuff.
mhm.
So we need to fix that or we need
Well,
to
we need
open
to
it up.
acknowledge it, right? We need to
Yeah.
acknowledge
Yeah.
that there's a disconnect, and maybe we haven't given men the space to do the grief work like we've assumed women have, but, there's room for
Yeah.
all of us to be
Yeah.
learning about grief.
Yeah. They say
So,
now that the higher percentage of funeral care
it's
people
moving to
are
women,
now
right?
women. Yeah, and it used to
Mhm,
always was men before. So
mhm.
that's really awesome.
So we had, Christine supporting caregivers
Hmm.
because it is a heavy lift
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be a caregiver to someone who is passing.
yeah. Exactly. She wrote a book, which is really cool, and good to see her working on that. I just interviewed somebody last week who will be on probably in December, who also has written a book called the Pocket Guide for Caregivers. So we
Mhm.
love finding these people who are really thinking about what it's like to be a caregiver, because both of us have been or are caregivers, and just to really think about how important it is for the caregivers to take care of themselves,
That's
right,
right.
and to have the resources they need.
Mhm.
So yeah. Any other folks that we oh, there's Sam. Oh my god.
Wait,
Let's not
what?
forget about Sam.
Right?
Yeah. Sam's
So,
MP.
wait a
What a
second.
cool
So I
guy.
wanna say, like, we have wonderful, heartfelt people on this show. We always are so delighted to have intersected. Uh, but Sam was the longest recording we've ever made
Yeah.
because this young man is wise
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
has a lot to offer us around death, companioning, not only for
Exactly.
the humans,
Yeah.
but for our world in general.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, he was wonderful. I think we actually it was, episode 65 back in, July, no, June. But yeah, definitely check that one out. It was our longest one I think we've ever
mhm,
done. And
mhm.
we got done. We said we got to quit because it's already in and our poor editor is going to have a hell of a time. And Sam's our editor, so so yeah, so we
It was
quit.
his job.
Right, so he had to deal with it, which is good. It's karma, right? But yeah, even after we stopped, I remember we were sitting there
We were still
talking
talking.
afterwards, and we're like,
Mhm,
"Oh, we should have kept the recording going." Because
mhm,
yeah, what a brilliant man. And really what he was talking about is that all the kinds of loss that we go through every day, even down to the loss of the last breath, or the loss
mhm,
of friendship or the loss of a
mhm,
job or just so many ways that we are dealing with loss and grief day in and day out. And I loved his work and his
mhm,
way of thinking about the world. Just what
mhm.
an
Oh,
incredible young man. Yeah. Yeah.
so there's plenty to sit and listen to and ponder and share so that maybe you and a loved one can, like, you know, listen to something and then have a conversation because at the end of the day, that is our mission,
Yeah.
is for you, the listener, to feel more comfortable using the words, using the themes around the end of life so that
Yeah.
you feel confident for
Exactly.
yourself or for your family member or for a neighbor or for a blade of grass.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
or for
you
whoever
know
you're sitting with or talking to,
yeah.
yeah, dinner parties. We both talk about how people quit inviting us to dinner parties because we keep talking about this stuff. But actually, my experience recently has been people wanna talk about this, right?
Yeah.
They don't really as much as they used to. They don't shy away as much as they used to. I find myself in places maybe because I'm sitting around with elders.
I was gonna say, I think, like, the 40 to 50-year-olds are not really
Yeah,
comfortable
not
with
ready.
this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe 60s, 70s?
Yeah, yeah, they kinda don't have to they don't have a choice, they're we are facing this, pretty clearly it's coming, so,
That's
yeah,
right.
that's been my experience lately, and I've enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed the fact that for me and for my people and for, the people that we get together with and all of these people we've talked to over the 90 some episodes, just every one of them is really working in the world to uplift this conversation and to create a way for all of us to know the resources we have and know the ways that we can talk about it and deal with it. And we also have talked about lately how much more there is to do, right? There's still people who are afraid of this, and we've talked about the fear of death, and we'll probably have some episodes talking about that at some point because that's a real big thing that we run into ourselves. So
It is, and, if somebody out there is listening and thinks, "Oh, I haven't heard this particular topic," whatever it is that you're going through or experiencing, please reach out to us because there's so much more to learn and think about and connect with, so
yeah.
don't be shy.
Yeah, and we also had really been thinking about how much we wanna just talk to anybody who wants to talk about this.
Mhm,
They don't have to be end of life workers or
mhm,
authors or poets
mhm.
or any of
No.
the things you've heard so far. We just, we wanna talk to anybody, everybody, especially younger people. If
Mhm.
you're hearing this and you say, "Well, I'd like to talk to them about this," and it doesn't have to be, morbid or anything. It's just let's talk about what it feels like as a young person to consider that you're gonna die someday,
Mhm.
and what kind of things you might be wanting to deal with and take care of and or dealing with your parents and all the different
That's
ways that
right.
this comes into our lives. So
That's right. Well, blessings on their journeys and ours as well, and all
Yeah.
those folks who are moving
It's been great to
beyond.
talk to you all again, and,
Yep,
we'll see you. Keep tuning in. We have a YouTube channel now, which at least we hope we do. We're
we
having
do
trouble
probably.
finding it, but it's working. But definitely, we appreciate if you use the YouTube, and see the video because then you get to see our lovely faces, one thing, and also, our the communications that happen between us online and between our, guests and us really are more lively and more interesting, I think, when you can actually see us talking to each other. So highly recommend checking out the YouTube channel. And if you can at all, listen to the end. I don't care if you even walk away and don't listen to it, but if you leave it running to the end, we get more points, right? It makes a difference for us. So tell
Yeah,
all your friends and be in touch. Thanks so
yes.
much.
Adios.
Adios.